So it's become painfully clear to me that there's nothing good enough for Carolyn's son. So I'm going to explain all this and all the things that we've tried to do and have done, and I guess what we will do to make him comfortable here. I apologize for any wind noise. I'm sitting on the porch today because it is just incredibly windy. This spring has been excessively windy this year. Crazy. Once again, it knocked over Carolyn's greenhouse. I mean, we don't use it anymore. It's more for storage than anything. We don't use it because we don't grow vegetables, but for the 2 years she's had it, it's never fallen over, and now it's fallen over 3 times. Again, apologize for the wind noise. I do have a windsock on my mic. I don't know if you can see it. I'm in the porch area. The wind's coming from the north. So as you know, Carolyn's son needed some help temporarily while he got, just to get his life back in order after his separation from his other half. So we got this camper. We got it from a guy down the road, paid a little bit more than what we wanted for it. We were in an emergency situation, needed to get something. I would have rather gotten a smaller one, but those were really expensive. Carolyn said this morning that she is starting to find some that are smaller for the same price that we paid for this one, and they're in better shape. This one's not roadworthy. And I said, don't make me feel guilty about this. I've done the best I can. I mean, it was kind of an emergency. Now, we were planning on getting a camper anyways, just to house guests while they're here. I think I got a family member coming up shortly. Of course, we won't have any place to put him, so I'll put him up in a hotel room, and then we can visit with him. We got the camper, and I wanted to put it up here, but we got stuck. The guy brought it over, got stuck, so we left it down there, down the hill a little bit. We'll have to just make do with it until Carolyn's son moves out. So what has brought all this up is heating. Video I talked to the other day about is I'm concerned that if he's got to stay next winter, we're going to have a real serious problem with heating the camper. Now I'm going to talk about what we have, what we think we want, and all that kind of stuff. Now the first thing we got is I got a garden hose running to the camper. So that's coming from my IBC tank. I showed that the other day. So the IBC tank is now supplying water to both the house, the tiny house, and the camper. I got this little V connection, I showed you that. So it splits off from our RV water pump. One goes to the house, one goes to the camper. It's just a hose running down to his camper. So obviously, even if it goes a little bit below freezing, it's going to freeze up. The IBC tank doesn't freeze because we got that in a box. It's insulated, and then we got heat from the house, ventilation running into the tank area. I've showed that before. And so we have a fan that blows hot air into there. So that doesn't freeze unless it gets really cold, -6, and then the tank doesn't freeze itself. The RV pump did. But that hose is going to freeze as soon as it gets a little bit below freezing. So of course, should we bury the hose, or what should we do? But no matter what we do, I still want to move the camper up the hill. So if I do anything where I'm burying it, I've done all that work for nothing. So I'm not really sure how to handle the water situation. Of course, he can come back up here. That's how he started up, was coming up here to take showers. Now last winter, although it got really cold, it didn't stay cold for very long. It might get cold at night, and then the daytime temperatures would get up above freezing. So if next winter is like last winter, it may not be a big problem. When I had a camper, we were traveling as nomads, I had a 5-gallon bucket that I put water in, and an RV pump that came out of so it would actually pump water out of the bucket and into our water heater. So maybe the solution is that we just fill up a bucket and he can take a shower from that bucket, and that's how we did it. Easy solution, but it's still a lot of manual labor. We would have to carry buckets into the camper, but it is wintertime. Sometimes you just have to make sacrifices. Carolyn was telling me she lived in a mobile home, and when she first moved on the property, it wouldn't take much for that to freeze underneath her mobile home. It's just a thing that happens to everybody. Now, the bigger problem is trying to heat that thing. It's going to be a problem. First of all, the windows leak terribly bad. Wind just blows right in. So the first thing we're going to do is we'll have to get some plastic. We'll have to cover the windows. Now this summer we're going to put the air conditioner in it. Then I guess we'll have to take it out. I don't know how I'm going to handle that. I don't know if I want to take it out, because once I take the window out, although I haven't looked at the windows yet, I'll be honest, but if I take the windows out, I may not be able to get them back in. I don't know. We'll have to see. It looks like it's kind of sealed in there. But even if there's an air conditioner there, we can still cover the window up with plastic. Maybe put some insulation in between the plastic and the window. The problem with that is then you don't get any sun heating. You can get a lot of heating from the sun in the wintertime. Now, years ago, I made solar heaters for my house. They were just boxes. It's hard to explain. I mean, you can Google them. They're not that hard to make. And I was able to heat the living room and our bedroom, my bedroom, pretty efficiently with these solar heaters. They worked really nice. I don't think we'll be able to do that in the camper. The sun is the south, and the camper runs north and south, so the only window that would be available for solar heating is the bedroom window, in which he doesn't sleep in anyways, especially during the winter months. He's not going to sleep in there. There is the furnace inside the camper. We're not sure it works. The guy who sold it to us wasn't sure if it worked. I'm not too certain I want to actually use the furnace that comes with the camper. Two reasons why. One, I'm not sure if there's any leaks in the propane system. I showed you a while back, there is a copper pipe coming out of the camper, on the side of the camper for some reason, just right through a hole through the side of the camper. They cut the pipe and crimped it over. My guess is that's propane. So if they're crimping pipes and different things, I'm sure there's going to be a leak. So, I mean, even if there's a leak and it doesn't become dangerous, like accumulation of propane, you're still wasting propane because the leak is just leaking outside and dumping out on the ground. I had that problem with the cook stove out here. The hose had a leak in it, wasn't aware of it, and all of a sudden we noticed that we were running out of propane pretty quickly, within 2 or 3, 4 days. So it didn't take long to find out we had a propane, but out here where it's all ventilated, we didn't smell it. So that could be a problem. So I don't want to get into the propane inside the camper. The second reason you don't want to use a furnace in a camper is they're noisy. Years ago, when we were nomads, we parked at a state park here in Missouri for 2 weeks. It was Halloween season. And the state park did this trick-or-treat thing. It was kind of cool, actually. And so a bunch of people would bring their campers to the state park and they would leave them there. So they'd park it there a week or two early. I guess they would pay for the spot. And then on Halloween, they would all come out, stay in the camper overnight, and they'd go trick-or-treating from camper to camper. It was kind of neat. Everybody had their decorations up. I just thought it was kind of neat, the camping and the trick-or-treating. And the thing is people would come, that weren't camping, would come and trick-or-treat there too. So it was a safe environment for everybody. For that week, when everybody had their camper parked there and nobody was in them, they were running these furnaces. I mean, think about this. Hundreds, I would say at least a couple hundred campers parked there, all running their heaters just as noisy as can be. Nobody's in the camper. I guess they didn't want their pipes to freeze or whatever. I mean, it wasn't that cold. It was October, but I don't think it got below freezing. And we're in a pop-up camper. That was even crazier. So, I mean, all the noise came right in. But it is noisy, and wouldn't want to listen to that noise while I'm trying to sleep. Everybody's going to tell me, oh, your stepson's just going to have to deal with it. Well, okay, fine, but I don't want to deal with it. So why do it if I keep me up all night? Then we have the buddy heater, and that is what he is currently using. The buddy heater is pretty nice. It can heat our house early spring, late winter, really efficiently. It can raise the temperature in the house about 10 degrees within an hour. We did that last spring, late winter. We did that last year because we were running out of dry firewood. This year we don't have that problem. I think we used, I don't know, maybe 1 tank of propane every 2 weeks. But I think he's going through a propane maybe once a week, maybe every 2 weeks. But again, it's this early spring, late winter season. So when we get into these really cold temperatures, I would imagine that buddy heater is going to have to run all the time, especially the way we got to set up. I mean, think about it. Look how windy it is. And those windows are just letting air come right on in. There's nothing stopping it. So, of course, we got to winterize it a little bit to get the propane heater to work. But I'm not sure the buddy heater is going to be capable of doing it. It only does 200 square feet, I think. It's not much. I mean, it's just, I think it can heat just a little bit more than what our tiny house is. And our tiny house is like 198 square feet. So with the insulation being so thin in that thing, I just don't know if it can do it. Another option is to get another buddy heater. Now again, he is just sleeping in the living room. So we could hang a curtain up, that way he's not heating anything else. But I don't know if we want to do that because the bathroom, you know, he's taking a shower. So there's just a lot of questions that I'm still stumbling on as far as how we're going to heat this. Now, I have considered, and still am considering, and most probably will do, buy what's called a blue flame heater. You can Google them. My dad used to have them. My mom has one in her house. Now, I think she has two in her house now. I put one in. I think she put one in later. So she's got two blue flame heaters. They can run off propane or natural gas. I think back in the day, you could either do one or the other. There was an orifice or something that you had to replace inside the heater. But I think now they can just swap them out. No big deal. I like those. They're an open flame. Now people are going to say, what about carbon monoxide? The carbon monoxide isn't that big of a problem with blue flame. The blue flame actually shows that it is using its oxygen very efficiently. It's when the flame turns orange is when you have a problem. But regardless, they're designed to be an open flame inside the house. So blue flame has a carbon monoxide detector. It shuts off with a low oxygen sensor. Now the other thing is, remember, people will complain about the blue flame saying, oh, it could kill you. But then they'll run the buddy heater. Well, the buddy heater is propane also. It's basically an open flame. It's got ceramic. So all that carbon could build up there too. But it has an oxygen sensor. And if it were to some reason not work correctly, it will shut off if there's not enough oxygen. So what's happening is it's having to use more oxygen, which means you're producing more carbon monoxide. You could Google it. It's not that hard to understand, but there's no reason for me to rehash the whole thing. So I'm thinking about the blue flame. Now, many people have said, get yourself a diesel heater, which is a very common statement from nomads. And when I really look into who's telling me these things, it's from the nomadic community. If you Google Chinese diesel heater or diesel heater, most of the blogs that talk about it are from the van life, nomadic lifestyle folks. There's very little information from reputable sources that talk to you about the diesel heater. But I used to research the diesel heater because we were nomads. And the reason I didn't get a diesel heater, there's only one reason, is that meant I had to carry more weight in the back of the truck. I had gas, I had propane, and then I was going to also have to carry diesel for the heater. And I just didn't want to carry the extra weight, so we just heated with propane. But with that little camper, I mean, it didn't take much anyway, so it wasn't no big deal. The diesel is actually more efficient per BTU. So a gallon of diesel and a gallon of propane, you're actually going to get more BTUs out of the diesel heater. But now here's the thing, is I'm just not too sure that I'm interested in it. It's another fuel that we got to keep around here. Again, it's just and also the other thing is I got to hook it up to the DC electric batteries, which I have plenty of electric to do. I have plenty of DC electric, but the distance it would have to travel, because all our batteries are in the camper, the truck camper, I would have to, what, 100 feet? Means you're going to have a huge wiring. So now the cost goes up quite a bit. So I think I'm going to stick with the blue flame heater. But in that video, I was talking about the heater situation, and I was told, well, he shouldn't be living in that camper anyways. You need to buy him a Home Depot shed. You live in a tiny house. Now, just the other day, I said, people want us to move into the camper or put him in our tiny house. Now I'm just supposed to buy him a new tiny house. So spend another $5,000 on a shed. And I've advocated that people should stay in a shed if they want to live in a tiny house and don't know how to build a tiny house. Go get yourself a shed. But I don't understand why I'm buying a shed for a temporary living situation. I want him to be able to leave here. I don't understand why I'm buying a shed. But I'm supposed to buy a shed, set it up exactly like ours is set up. And I don't even have another trailer frame. I assume they wanted me to put it on a trailer frame like ours, so it could be moved around. A tiny house, you got to move it around. So I would have to go find a trailer frame, put it on a trailer frame, go to Home Depot, get all the shipping expenses. So we're talking $10,000 after it's all said and done, because I got to get it insulated. I'd have to put walls up. I had to get another IBC tank, hook the whole system up. I tell you, people sure know how to spend my money. I just want him to be able to get back on his feet and get out of here and try to figure out how to keep the camper warm if he's got to stay here in the winter. I'm not even sure he's going to have to stay here. He may have everything worked out by then. So I don't understand why I got to spend thousands and thousands of dollars. Well, I do know why. People want me to show them how to do things. Instead of me just showing you how to live your dream, they want me to show them step by step how to live my dream. So if you'll click this up next box to take to a video where I was talking about how people can't live their dream. So I hope I can inspire you to live your dream, not mine. Thanks for watching.